Hi, my name is Michael. This is my 2020 600 LT, and you're watching ANSWRD. So the story is that my buddy Ian and I, about 3 years ago, we're at an entrepreneur conference together and we're hanging out. You know, we're talking about cars, and then he said, you know what, Michael, in 3 years' time when I build my business, we're gonna buy supercars together. And at that time, I didn't really know about McLarens. You know, at that time, I think I was, growing up, it's always Ferrari, right? It was the Ferrari 360 on my wall. And then when I got older, I was looking at Lamborghinis. But, you know, this guy Ian, his family has all McLarens. You know, they've got the Senna, they got the P1, the F1, and all of that. So he introduced me into the McLaren, and, you know, 3 years later, that's how I ended up with the 600 LT. So the two other cars that I was comparing with, well, actually three other cars. There's the Ferrari 458. For some reason, I felt like I couldn't afford it. And then there was the Huracan. And the issue with that was the door doesn't go up. And growing up, Lamborghinis are supposed to have Lambo doors. So a Huracan, the door doesn't go up, that doesn't work for me. And then the last thing was the Audi R8. And I love the look of R8 even until today, but every time I drive it, I just wasn't that excited about it. I mean, I have an RS5 right now, and I feel like they're almost the same thing. Oh my God, driving it. Yeah, I've had it, I picked it up on May 31st, but I've been out of the country probably a third of the time. And so I probably had about 6 or 7 months. It's got 11,000 miles on it. So the best part about is driving the car. It's a McLaren, which means I'm on my 4th piece of windshield, and I've broken the e-brake. It's got boost code. It's just a super temperamental car. The funny thing is, before I got a supercar, I was worried about, you know, a supercar being temperamental. And everyone was telling me, nah, you're fine. And I went ahead and got a McLaren. So it is very temperamental. But when it's working, it's amazing. It looks beautiful, it drives beautiful, but, you know, things feels like it's just always falling apart. So the only modification that I have is a catback titanium exhaust that SSR did for me, and they did an amazing job. When Shaw was telling me about it, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna build it so it sticks out a little bit. And I'm thinking, I don't know if that works, but you can check it out. It works amazingly. So that's a super hard question, because I mean, and I'm a numbers guy, I'm a money guy, I'm super detailed into this. So if you want, financially, let's say financially, the smartest thing to do is buy a used car. A lightly used car. You know, you have a lot of super rich folks that's got, I don't know, 150, 500 miles on it, and then you're saving 30, 40, $50,000. You pick one of these up right now, probably 230, 240. The MSRP on this is 306. So yeah, do the math on there. So the smart thing to do financially is definitely to buy it used, and you probably drive it for, you know, 1 or 2 years and not lose a whole lot. However, what I did with this car is I leased it and I actually spec'd it out. I bought it brand new. Worst financial decision, but the whole experience of being able to pick out your car, spec it out, exactly the options that you have, and have it delivered, have them unveiled it. I don't know, I think that experience in itself is worth it, probably to do it at least, you know, once in your lifetime. And, you know, if you have more money, hopefully do it a lot of times in your lifetime.
This is definitely way more on than the 570.
But not as bad as the Lambo though. Lambos are amazing.
Woo! Time out. Subscribe for next week's video of Nielle and her BMW M2, why she chose it over the M4, and now back to Michael and the 600 LT.
Alright, so the car sounds good. That was just a slight taste of what this car is capable of. So this is your first entry into the exotic car world.
Yeah.
What made you go with the 600 LT over something even like the 570S? This is a very intense car to get into. Like in the Porsche world, that'd be going straight for a GT3 RS as your first big car purchase.
In fact, I did look at the 570. That was the car that was the McLaren that we were supposed to get.
Yeah.
And then when my buddy Ian called me up, it was like, bro, have you seen the 600 LT? And I said, no. He goes, I've sent everything to you on your email. And I pulled it up, and then the first thing is the top exiting exhaust.
Right,
I
with
mean,
the flames in that video. I
with
remember
the flames,
promo video.
yeah, the promo video with the flames and everything. And the thing is, this is a spider. So this piece of glass right here actually comes down. Right? And when you're driving at night, your exhaust is right there, right next to your ear. And then with the flame shooting and everything, it's over. It's just too crazy.
Wow. And did it really shoot flame stock?
Yeah,
Wow.
shoot flames definitely stock.
That is awesome. So you've had the car for a year. You took delivery May 31st of 2019, right?
Yeah.
What was the delivery and speccing experience like? I want to get into that before we get into the car because this is your first order.
Yes.
And so I wanted to learn more about your experience, what you liked and didn't like.
So I absolutely loved everything about it. I didn't really know what to expect. At that time I was thinking maybe I'll get a videographer and like film the whole thing, but I didn't want to be like one of those YouTube stars. It's just awkward. So what happened was 2 of my buddies actually went with me. And it's so hard to explain. I mean, when they unveiled the car, and I remember saying this, and everyone laughed when I said this. I got so excited. I go, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this is happening. And then I go, can I sit in it?
Your own car.
Right. So I mean, the sales guy and everyone started laughing. They were like, can I sit in it? It's your car. Like, of course you can sit in it.
Yeah.
So it's just unreal. I can't, I don't know when it's settled. I think probably even 2 or 3 days after I got the car, that was when I finally go, oh, okay, well, like I own a supercar.
Yeah.
So that experience it's really one of a kind. When I ordered the car, I was nervous. I actually printed out my spec sheet.
Yeah.
With all the options and then the price, and I pasted right next to my nightstand. So every day when I wake up, I'll be like, dude, get to work, motherfucker. you gotta get to work because I mean it's an expensive car. And so that whole experience is just incredible.
And how long before you take delivery of the car do you have to put in your spec? And did you make any changes to the spec after you did it? Were you second guessing stuff? Because there's a lot of options, right? I mean, how many different things could you customize on this car?
Yeah, you can pretty much customize everything on this car. Give me a second while I
pass the sprinklers.
I just picked the worst road, like rocks and water.
Yeah,
and
this gives the full 600 LT experience. It's bumpy, there's gravel, you can feel every rock we go over.
Yeah, this is my apologies. What was the question?
So speccing the car, what is that like? Do you do it online or do you have to go to your dealer and choose all these options? And is it once you tell them what you want, that's it? Like you can't change your mind? What is that experience
You can
like?
change it all the way until they start building the car. They send you an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can pick everything out on there. But the hardest option for me to pick was the color.
Yeah.
I must have spent, goodness, 3 times at the dealership, 3 hours each time. I pulled out their box, all of the color chips. I'm taking color chips. I'm going inside. I'm going outside. I'm going during the day, going at night. I swear, at one point I thought the dealer wasn't going to sell me a car. They're just like, what's wrong with this guy? But yeah, you get to pick everything now. I picked the the blue Alcantara.
Yeah, and I see the stitching here as well.
Yeah, and the blue stitching. That's one of my favorite option right here. You can barely see it, but you pay attention to it, you can see that. And then I picked out some MSO options, but I ended up not going with it just because, to be honest, they're charging an arm and a leg for that.
Yeah. Did you go through different wheel options, or were you pretty sold on these wheels?
I was not sold on these wheels. The dealer, I think it was Nick and Dallas, they told me to go with these wheels. So these are the Lambo 5-spoke wheels. And I was like, I don't know about those. The pictures doesn't look that good. And then they're like, you know what, we've seen it. It looks awesome. I trust them with it, and best decision ever, because I don't know, personally, I think there are so many LTs or 570S out there with just like the basic wheels. Right. A black wheel, which was what the original options that I wanted to pick, but I think these just pop so much more.
Yeah, these wheels really pop. They make it very unique looking. I'm definitely a big fan of it. Let's get into the ownership experience. So what has surprised you in terms of the performance or the ride, both in the good and maybe the bad? You know, is there anything that you wish it did a little bit better as well?
Performance-wise, I don't think there's anything to complain about this car. I think performance-wise, this car is just absolutely stunning. It drives like a track car. You feel everything in this car.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's nothing that I can complain about as far as performance, what I want it to do.
Yeah. What about comfort? Because that must have a pro and a con, right? Since it feels like a track car,
Yeah.
and even I feel it from the passenger seat. Every little bump, nook, cranny,
Yeah.
you can feel on the road. And
So-
you drive this car very often.
Yeah. So I actually don't mind it. So we're in sports mode right now,
Uh-huh.
and if we switch it off, you almost instantly feel.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I
you
feel
almost
that.
instantly feel that. I mean, you still feel the road, but it's
Uh-huh.
so much better. And then if you want to put this car in track mode, now you're really feeling everything. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised how much the whole track sports and comfort mode.
Actually
makes a difference.
Yeah, and you feel that both in the powertrain and the suspension. When
Yeah,
you adjust
yeah.
it?
You can actually adjust them individually.
Right.
So most of the time when I'm driving just by myself, after the car warms up a little bit, I
Uh-huh.
put it in sports,
Got it.
and that's good enough for everyday driving.
Yeah.
And usually when I go on a drive in the canyon, or I go out with some of these guys, like Sony, and
Uh-huh.
I put it in track because otherwise I cannot keep up with them.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. In terms of the daily comfort as well, so I see it has the Bowers and Wilkins sound system. I've
Yes.
heard the system in the 570S. It's very good. Was that an option, or is that standard on this car?
I believe that was an option.
Okay. And then the convertible top. This is a Spider. Are you glad you went with the Spider over the Coupe?
Yes, absolutely. So I originally ordered the Coupe,
Okay.
and then 2 weeks into it, they introduced the Spider.
Uh-huh.
And then at that point, I was like, I got to get the Spider.
Yeah. And do you remember what the price difference was? Because it must have been at least 10 grand, right?
I believe it was $30,000 MSRP difference.
Got it.
Yeah.
And still worth it, you say?
Oh yeah.
Do it all over
Especially
again.
in Southern California. At that time, I was asking a bunch of people. I was like, "Hey, should I get a Spider? Should I
Yeah.
get a Coupe?" And everyone goes, "You're in LA, right? You're in Southern California. You should get a Spider." And I did, and that's the best option. And sometimes it's too hot.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. In the early morning, it's good.
Yeah.
Right before sunset is good. But even if the top is not off, again, like I said, this window that
Yeah.
opens up makes a world of
Oh
difference.
yeah, that's nice. It's almost like having a sunroof
Yes.
in a Spider a little bit, because
Yes.
you get that natural air coming through, which
Yeah.
is great. And now let's talk about a question that I had from a follower. He asked, how's the reliability and servicing on this car?
I feel so bad. But I'm going to tell the truth. The reliability is shit,
Uh-huh.
at least for this car. I mean, I probably have it, so I travel overseas,
Uh-huh.
probably a third of the time.
Yeah.
And a third of the other third, I drive this car. I drive
Yeah.
11,000 miles on it. And then the third,
It's in the shop?
it's in the shop.
So what type of stuff has it had to go in for?
So everybody's heard about the 600 LT
Windshield? Mm-hmm.
And this is, I believe, my fourth piece
In a year.
in a year.
Wow.
Yeah, and knock on wood, so far this piece has been wonders. There's no cracks on
Uh-huh.
it. But for the first three piece, just right here, it would just come off.
Wow.
And again, they tried to save weight, and
Yeah.
these windshields are super thin.
Yeah.
Right? And then, the whole carbon fiber body, it
Mm-hmm.
flexes, right? And so you're literally taking your glass and you're doing this
Yeah.
to it all day long. So, yeah, but other than that, I mean, this piece of windshield has been good. I've had 2 boost coats.
Uh-huh.
So cars put me in limp mode,
Yeah.
but then when we take it into a shop, we couldn't figure out why.
Uh-huh.
So we tested it a bunch of times and then we resetted it. And then again, just bolts here and there.
Yeah.
It's McLaren. They build amazing cars. I just wish the quality of
control?
it, the quality
Yeah.
control of it is a little better. But then again, you take this, right? We complain about this car this way, but then my buddy Ian,
Yeah.
I keep bringing him up because we literally pick up our cars 2 weeks apart.
Uh-huh.
He's got no issues.
Wow.
Not one day in the shop.
Yeah. Also 600 LT.
Also 600 LT, but 600 LT Coupe.
Got it. Interesting. And then I was going to ask, on those boost codes, when it goes into limp mode, what is that experience like? I mean, does it warn you, or is it just all of a sudden you go from having a car that can do close to 200 miles an hour to having a car that limits you? Does it limit you like at 50 miles an hour or something?
It
Or
doesn't
it's
limit
just
you to 50
RPM?
miles, but it limits, like, you're literally driving a McLaren looking Prius.
Does your fuel efficiency go up at that point?
I don't know what I feel except for frustration. So it gets, you get a code and it will say you know, see McLaren dealer. It will say, yeah, it will say, you know, whatever error code that it shows, and then you just have a car that drives like, I mean, it doesn't drive bad.
Yeah.
It's just a slow car.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a Prius.
Yeah.
Really.
It just powers super.
It just yeah. There's, I mean, you can still get it up to 80, 90 miles an hour, slowly.
Yeah.
But you know, like we were halfway to Havasu on a rally, and then we had to turn back around.
Oh, and take it in
the
limbo
whole way,
all the way.
in limo all the way, and the whole way. People were passing this, and everyone's probably like, "What is wrong with this guy?"
Why is going so slow?
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So the car seems great. Is there any car that you would give it up for? You know, I was with Sony and his NSX. He said he'd give up the NSX for 600 LT. You have a 600 LT. What would you give it up for?
I would give it up for a 765 LT.
Would you do it for a used 765? Because I know you really liked speccing this car, but if you could trade with, you know, yeah, of course, cash on top,
right?
But not the MSRP price. Would you give up your first special car to get that?
That's hard. Yeah, that's hard. I think I would want to get it in addition of. But if it's like a flat trade, like if you just say, yeah, I got a 765 and I'll trade you 600, I'll do a flat trade.
For sure. Yeah.
But if you want me to put money on top, then I'm like, okay, I'll have to think about that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very cool, Michael. Thank you for spending your time this morning with the 600 LT.
Yeah.
On some roads that are great for speed, but horrible for driving a 600 LT. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And follow him on Instagram. The info will be down below. See you in the next one. Peace.